Welcome back to the first Room one-on-one of the 2023-2024 season, and we have Flag Day in the horizon. So the first game of the Scottish Premiership will happen at 12:30 this Saturday as Celtic host Ross County at Celtic Park. As always, to help me decipher what's going to happen and how our Northern friends are shaping up, I'm delighted to welcome Ross County's fans liaison officer, Kenny MacLennan, back to the pod. Well, Kenny, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, Scott. Good, mate. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on again, mate.
No problem.
First of the season, love it. All the optimism back. So I really like these early chats because you get a real feel of the opposition, how last season went, how you feel about it, and then how as the summer went for you. Do you know what I mean? Is there optimism on the table? Do you think the club's in a good shape or not? By the way, I noted this down. I've just found out today there's actually a Ross County in Ohio in America. There you go. I was Googling away and I was like, Ross County, it's in Ohio and it has a population of around 77,000. But there you go. If ever you fancy going. Right, so we spoke very early last season, the second league game of the season, up in the fine sunny environments of the Global Energy Stadium in Dingwall. And I found a Kenny MacLennan full of youthful hope and excitement at the recruitment in the previous season's sixth place finish. Now, I think it's fair to say, mate, it never really went to plan.
No.
But ultimately, it was a success. Generally, what your kind of hope for the season. But we'll touch on. We'll go just the usual script. We'll go back on, look at it, and you know the script here. Anything you think needs spoke about, get rattled in. But I'll fly through this and we'll summarise it, right? So, before there, is there anything happening club-wise that you think needs a wee pat in the back or a wee publicisation?
Well, I mean, obviously, our CEO, Stephen Ferguson, and our new sort of head of corporate, like finances and the sort of department and sort of community and linking everything together, Duncan Chisholm has come on that scene now. And Duncan's a local guy, a guy that I've known for years. And I think he'll bring something different to the table, I think, with that respect, in that he's local, he knows the community, he knows everything around what Ross County's about. He's a supporter himself, and I think Duncan will maybe bring something to the table that's that's different in that he might.
What's his background, Kenny?
His background is really sort of like commercial, and so he's quite heavily involved with Stephen, trying to sort of look how they can sort of progress the club, because obviously the size of the club that we've got, the size of the fan base that we've got, it could be bigger given the areas that we cover, and that's something that I think we need to be looking at, as ways of drawing people through the turnstiles a weekend, because it's, as you know yourself, football's not a cheap game, for families and stuff to go and support, But I think we need to be quite clever there. I think we need to try and think differently, and try and engage more with the community and stuff, And, there's already a lot of work that goes on with, like the tickets and stuff like that get handed out to schools and things like that, to try and, get these kids along and let them know they've got a really good football team on their doorstep, and a team that they can basically come along and support and watch Premiership football, Now, that last game last season against Partick Thistle lit a fire. There's no two ways about it. We've sold more season tickets this season. Yeah. We've sold more home kits this season than ever before.
Wow.
So I would say that last game, it was end-to-end football. It was incredible to watch as a spectator. And I think that's kind of lit a little fire in some of the supporters. So we do have a lot more supporters coming in.
Brilliant. That's ready. Brilliant.
So what we need to do is, as a club and as, my role is to engage more with the the supporters as well from that respect, you know, and it's to try and entice people along. And I think, you know, we need to run with that. The fact that that spark's been lit, we need to now make sure that we're not letting it go out. You know,
straight while the iron's hot. Yeah,
that's the message that's coming from Stephen Ferguson and Duncan Chisholm, is that they're very, very keen to run with this now. It's like an Olympic torch. You know, somebody's lit it. You now need to run with it. You need to get something from it. You know, so fingers crossed. The guys, I mean, they're working. They've got an immense amount of hours, both of them. You know, Fergie. I don't think Fergie goes to sleep, if I'm honest. But at the end of the day,
for a wee bit of context, Stephen Ferguson was also he was joint manager for a while.
That's right.
Previously with Kettlewell.
That's right, with Stuart, and you know, and he's gone on to Motherwell, and I think he'll do a great job there as well.
Oh, he has. I think
absolutely, and he's an enthusiastic young coach, and I just think he'll do well there. But with the two guys that we've got there, I think I'm keen to try and help them as best I can. You know, as a volunteer supporter liaison officer, my job is to try and bounce ideas off them, try and engage with other members of the support, to try and get along to meetings with the club and actually see where we can get round the table and actually discuss what is it we want. You know, so I think there's a lot of positivity from changes. You know, they've gone through a bit of a change, because obviously at the end of the season we didn't know which league we were going to be playing in.
Definitely.
And also, you know, so you couldn't just go out and say, right, we're going to hire a load of people to do this and hire a load of people to do that, because you didn't know where you were going to be. So they're in that position now, I think, where they're trying to look at what they need staff-wise as well. You know, it's not just what's on the park, but that's where the bulk of the money goes, is what's going out on the park, coming out the tunnel. So we're looking at a number of things, and you know, I want to see. We're obviously desperate to see more atmosphere in the stands, more, you know, get some more flags, you know, drums, you name it. You know, we need a presence. You know, it's very difficult. You know, for when the bigger support come up. You know, but our team needs to look at that and needs to feed off that atmosphere. So the atmosphere that you guys create in the away end, or Rangers or Hearts or Aberdeen or whatever, our guys need to feed off that. Forget that it's the away support. Just feed off the atmosphere that's in the stadium on these big games and use it like a fire in your belly, you know. So all these little things have been talked about, and we just need to just try and think about things that we can do differently. But I think the two guys that are there now, you know, I think they will make a difference going forward.
That's excellent, mate. That's excellent. I feel for you, right? I feel for you in that, and I hope, I always say this to you, often when you're talking to smaller teams, you can come across as patronising, I mean, pat in the head sort of stuff. And I think you've known me long enough, that's not my kind of, my thinking. I feel for guys like yourself, especially in your volunteer role, and you're trying your best and you're offering things up. And I feel Scottish football at the top level, in terms of the people running it, aren't helping us at all. They aren't bumming it up. They aren't kind of selling it for what it should be. We're very much, I've said it all, I've probably said it to you, we look down south too much instead of looking, and like you said, we need to encourage people to come to the game, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be enjoyable, and it's a day out. Right, don't get me wrong, arseholes are arseholes, and they're everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Celtic will have a large percentage over Ross County because of the numbers, but in general, football fans are decent, good people, and they shouldn't be treated like crap.
And look how quickly they come out to promote and help charities and stuff when there's food banks or where there's other things going on. Football fans are always first there, you know, and that's the sort of things that I think need to be promoted in this country. Like, you know, there's not a lot of money floating about at the moment. You know, people are finding it hard. They're looking at every penny they're spending, you know, but people are still coming through the shop doors and buying home kits for their kids. They're still buying season tickets. So there's a love there of something that we all enjoy. And I just think, you know, as you say, the powers that be, I just think the product could be so much better and be reignited. You know, just look.
The
just
one
look,
thing I always like the thought of Scottish football being an alternative to England, because England is obviously getting carried away in the money, and you've got this Saudi Arabia thing. But
Yeah.
I love the idea. Like, I know for a fact, right? I showed my friends from Germany pictures of your stadium and being up there, and every time they go, right, we need to organise something. We need to come up to that game. We need to come up to that stadium, because it's a picturesque place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It is. It's a beautiful setting, and and I think if you see aerial shots of it, and then you're looking up towards the west and stuff with the hills and everything else, you don't get that a lot of that anywhere else, and it's something we should be promoting. It's like, I think you see some games in Norway and
100%,
like Iceland and that, and you see the dramatic landscapes. You just think, wow, we need to tap into these things, promote it a bit more, And you're right.
I agree full-heartedly.
They need to be events. They need to be like a fun day out, and there obviously needs to be a drive to try and get more people through the turnstiles. I think Motherwell, a couple of seasons ago, I think we had Friday night football and that, I think they dropped their ticket price to £10, and the Friday night games were packed. Because people thought, oh, I'm going to go along because it's only a tenner, and I can afford that, And
it's funny. A friend of mine, he's very pro summer football, but I was standing the other day in the pissing rain like that. Summer football, summer football.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it'll not be that when all the Spaniards and all that come to Scotland, because we've got the nice weather.
That's right.
Right, okay. So let's look at last season. Like I said, anything that kind of comes up here and you want to get rattled in about, batter ahead, the script, right?
Yeah.
So league-wise, a very, very sticky start. We spoke about it. The departure of Reagan Charles Cook, Joseph Humble and Blair Spittle would see the Staggies somewhat struggle to put chances away. First half of the season, we see County sitting flat bottom, a point off fellow struggler Dundee United with a game more played. That was on the 19th match day when United won 3-0 on the final game day of 2022. With 19 games played, only 4 wins, 3 draws, 12 defeats. Now, the second half wasn't much better, but crucially, it was better than Dundee United's. Another 5 wins, 4 draws meant that, of course, County would finish in the bottom 6 relegation group and ultimately in second bottom place in the dreaded playoff position. From the 38 games played, 9 wins, 7 draws, 22 losses, 37 goals scored. That's less than a goal a game. 60 conceded, giving a final goal difference of -23 and 34 points on the board. 6 points off of Kelly in 10th and 3 points above Dundee United, who depart the league. So it meant on the 1st of June, County would travel to Glasgow for their first leg game with Partick Thistle. A 2-0 defeat must have left you in dread. However, a 3-1 comeback one would take the tie to penalties. Now, Thistle at this game had went 3-0 up on aggregate, but 3 second half goals, including a 90th minute George Hammond strike, brought it back, and sure enough, a 5-4 penalty win would mean that County remained in the Premiership for their 5th consecutive season.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, indeed.
Right. Give me the thoughts, Kenny boy. Give me the thoughts. We'll touch on the cups because there's not really much to talk about there. But league-wise, when I spoke to you, you were excited about the guys you brought in, and you were obviously still on that kind of high of the 6th place finish the season before. We'd spoke previously, and I'll touch on it later, but there was a kind of optimism at the club. You were giving it 2-year deals, you were giving it 3-year deals rather than the usual 1-year deals. So there was a fair bit of optimism I felt for you. And as I remember, he's actually played some decent football, but sticking the ball in the net was, as you see, obviously the problem. So let's talk, before we go into the playoff, let's talk about the league season.
Yeah, I mean, I think Malky would be the first to admit that the recruitment well, both Malky and Don, I think, would probably admit that their recruitment didn't go as well as they'd expected it to go. And I think, you know, they've taken a bit of a risk, I guess, maybe not from their perspective, but from a supporter looking in, taking a bit of a risk on people like William McKeough. And, you know, there's other players there like Ura Edwards. So there were guys that came into the club that on paper looked the business. But quite often, a lot of these kind of guys, it's not really until the second season you see the best of them.
Yeah.
So because you know, they come into a league where you get very little time on the ball, you know, and I guess, you know, it might be somebody that's looking for that bit of time to put their foot in the ball, look around or whatever, or to run around and think they're going to get the space to do things. But it's very difficult. It's a difficult league. And I think, to be honest, some of the guys, you know, with it being there, coming straight into that, you know, I think if we'd had them for a second season, maybe you would see the best of these guys. But possibly some of them, well, I know some of them just didn't work out at all. You know, they just didn't feature, and didn't feature much. And when they did feature, body language just didn't. You know, as a supporter watching it, I've got to be honest. I was watching some of the guys on the park, and I was thinking, that doesn't look to me like a Paul Lawson or you know, a Rocco Quinn or whatever that we've had in the past. You know, when we've had, where we've had really good runs. You've had guys that would basically put their body on the line. You know, and that's what I feel Ross County need. I feel that you need guys, because we're such a small club compared to all the other clubs. We have to fight that little bit harder to actually get anything, you know. So not only do you need your football skills, you need to have something inside you in your stomach when you come out of that tunnel. You need to be saying, I'm not letting that guy run circles around me. I'm in his face from the minute that whistle goes, and I'm not going to let him play his normal game, you know. And so when we come up against Aberdeen, Rangers, Celtic, Hibs, Hearts, we've got to work that bit harder. We've got to raise it to a different level in order to be able to match the kind of quality that's on the parks. We just don't have the finances to match the spending, you know.
Of course.
And also the Central Belt clubs have also got a big pool of players that they can choose from, you know. And because a lot of these guys are quite happy to stay in the Central Belt.
Yeah,
you know, They would rather go, like say somebody who's leaving Celtic, they would rather go to Hearts or Hibs than go to Ross County, just because it's so far north.
Of course. Yeah,
so
of course.
That's always a challenge for Malky and the recruitment guys, you know.
But as you say, the young guys who are maybe released with Celtic, I mean, Ross County have got a great history of former youth Celtic players who've ended up and been great players. And as you say, it's easier for Livingston to say, come here for Ross County kind of guy.
That's right.
Come 4 hours up the road.
That's right. And that quite often sees the deal go away from us, you know, because somebody will come in for them as well. And that person will say, nah, I'm staying down here. I'm near my family.
Yeah.
But it's easier, you know. So I guess the supporters, sometimes there can be an element of unrealism. They think we should be just going out and grabbing these people, you know, and managing to sign them or whatever. But we probably have to spend an extra 10 grand or whatever, even trying to get them to agree to come. You know?
It is mad when you think of that, because I often think that Celtic have kind of got their own problem with regards to that in terms of getting people to come to Scotland. So we've got to aim that extra bit. Exactly. But as you say, you've got the same problem but at a different level. Aye.
It's bizarre. I think every team probably has similar issues. You know, they're trying to get the quality of player they want, but it's getting that person to come to Scottish football. You know, and that's one of the things I think that again we're back to the people above need to be promoting the league more. They need to 100%. Make it an attractive product for people that want to come and play. You know, so so I guess recruitment wise. I mean, there's no way I saw the season going the way it did. I thought we had enough about us on paper, but we picked up a lot of injuries as well. Ben Parrington, Ross Callahan, Eamon Brophy came in and hardly, you know, got going and picks up an injury at St Johnstone, you know, and you could see the guy walking off the pitch in tears. He was just like gutted because he was really kicking on and forming a nice partnership. with Jordan White, and then all of a sudden, bang, injury, and that curtails that. You know, if we'd had him for the last few games, I don't think we would have been in the position we were in. I think Brophy would have banged in a lot more goals. I think, to be honest, it's just
he looked refreshed when he turned up, didn't he? He looked like a refreshed player.
Yeah. And, you know, on the flip side of that, you know, we had a Alex Samuel coming back from injury, and God knows what happened there, like whether it was divine intervention or something, but whatever that guy channeled, fair play to him. He just had some amount of spirit about him and would not let the ball go. For the size of the guy, he would just fight and fight and fight, and made a big difference to our team, you know, and linking up with Jordan and stuff. You know, he was tenacious, was the word I would use. Just great to see that, and that's the kind of player that I think Ross County need. You know, we need that extra bit of fire.
Because a football fan, we all love the guys.
Absolutely,
don't we? I mean,
exactly. You like to see people playing for the shirt, I guess, you know, and not going out there and being overawed by whoever it is you're playing against, you know, because at the end of the day, it's 90 minutes, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, the season wasn't great at all. Most of us pretty much felt, nah, we're down, you know.
Really?
And when they scored, when Partick Thistle scored in that decider, we everybody in the stand was like, here we go.
Yeah.
You know,
I watched it in the boozer, and I thought the exact same thing.
I thought, that's it, we're down, you know. But you know, give them their credit. They came out, and I know from some sort of rumours that have been flying about and some stories that I've heard of what happened at half time, and which we'll get onto when we start talking about the match. But I know for one reason why that happened and what lit that fire in them. So.
Right, okay, right. So let's batter into it then, right? So he's been down on the 1st of June, you played the game away, and I watched that, and like you said, I didn't think you were good. And I had been an advocate from speaking to yourself, so actually watching your games a wee bit more, kind of going, Ross County aren't a bad team. They're having a bad season, but they're no a bad team. I mean, you gave us a decent game every time we played you last season. No matter the scorelines, every game was a decent shift. But it was just down to that no being clinical. But Partick Thistle battled you that day.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I watched the game as well, and I was like, I can't believe this. We just don't look like we're up for this. You know, where's the fight? You know, and it really looked like Partick Thistle were wanting it more than we were in that first game. And I honestly thought, this, you know, we're either going to have to come out and score an early goal, and show that this is what we're about, you know, or we're in serious trouble here, you know, and with the fact that they scored the second tie, they scored the early goal. It was just like a double whammy for us, you know. Sitting in the stands, you were like, well, this is not going our way, guys, you know.
Right, so as you rightly say, so the return game 3 days later, 4th of June, Partick Thistle took the lead in the 42nd minute. Fitzpatrick. So you're kicking the knackers just before half time. You're 3-0 down at home. It looks gone. I remember, as I say, I watched it at the pub that day, and I was like, that's that done, innit? We've got a wee Tippy Glazer coming up. But, so you're kind of alluding that some spurred people on at half time. Are you going to divulge it?
Yeah, because I've heard it so many times from various different people, and there must be something in it. And I believe it might have been Jordan White or somebody else came out in an interview and said it as well. But at half time, when they were getting ready to come back out of the dressing rooms, one of the players heard the music going next door, and said, pulled all the players back into the dressing room and said, "Hey, come on, have a listen to this." And they were listening to it. They think they've got it won. That's disrespectful. And it was like, we're not having that. And effectively, that, you know, they were just like, right, let's just get out there and just give this hell for leather. And that's effectively what happened. So it backfired, you know. Partick probably thought they had it in the bag, which, to be fair, if you're a Partick player, you probably would think it's in the bag. But probably not the right time to be playing music in the away dressing room and thinking they're having a party, you know.
It's funny when you kind of bemoan the sign is not working when the three guys who scored would all have been guys who signed the summer or afterwards. So you had Danda equalising with a penalty in the 71st minute. Simon Murray, who is a great player for that level. He's an excellent player, and what he was doing at Queen's Park, God knows. But Simon Murray straight away makes it 3-2. So you're back in the game. You're winning 2-1 on the day. You just need that. And then George Hammond, the 90th minute, to get an equaliser.
What a game, though. You know what I mean? It was, honestly,
best comeback Scottish football history.
Phenomenal, like just incredible. And I went to penalties and stuff like that. We just thought, right, we still got this. I mean, to be honest, there was only one team in the second half, and it shouldn't have gone to penalties. They should have just nailed it. But again, it was just that high impact end to end stuff. It was fantastic, because if they'd gone too hell for leather, Partick probably caught them on the break and whatever else, But fantastic game.
Does you hear what I say here?
Probably the game of the season for me.
Well, I was listening to the Radio Scotland, and they were saying, is it the best comeback ever in Scottish football? And I can't think of many.
Honestly, if I'm sitting here just now thinking about it, I can't think of many where you're effectively dead and buried, and you come out and you take it back to that, and then penalties, and you win it in penalties.
I mean, Celtic have got like a great history of scoring late goals and getting winners and stuff like that, and we've got
97th minute
Let it go, Kenny boy. Let it go.
I'm not letting that go.
Aye, fantastic. As you say, if the club can get the benefit of that off the part as well as on the part, then tremendous.
Yeah.
Right, okay, we'll fly through the cups. There's not much to talk about. In the League Cup, the team would come through the group containing Partick Thistle, Dunfermline, Alloa and East Fife, but departed the competition late in August as holders and eventual winners. Celtic would win 4-1 again in Dingwall. The Scottish Cup was an equally disappointing campaign. 0-0 draw away to Hamilton Accies saw County leave the tournament early with a 5-3 defeat in penalties. So all in all, still in the league, disappointing campaign with more than a fair bit of excitement at the end up.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Pre-season, right. So I touched on it earlier, and it's something me and you spoke about, and I've said this, I say this all the time, but doing this, it's interesting to see the turnover of players in Scottish football teams.
Yeah.
And if clubs aren't in good places financially or mentally, or even kind of working well, you do see a load of one-year deals, and you see guys coming and going.
Yeah.
And it's something I noticed just looking at the turnaround this time, and I appreciate that we've still got a month to go. The turnaround this time is much, much smaller. So we kind of get to look. So we'll look at the outs first, right? So Austrian midfielder David Kincola departed the club after a 2-year spell. He made 55 appearances in total for the club, scoring 3 goals. One of them a penalty against Celtic. 29-year-old English striker Dominic Sagno was released after his own 2-year spell. 15 appearances last season with only 1 goal. Somewhat surprising, or maybe not, Alec Iacovetti departed the club for Port Vale at the end of his contract. Iacovetti, who had scored twice versus Celtic last season, had been at the club for 3 years and amassed 116 games with 12 goals. Keith Watson, 33-year-old defender, also saw his contract and departed for Raith Rovers. The former captain was at the club for 5 seasons and played over 140 games, scored 3 goals. So the aforementioned Kenyan forward William Akio departed the club for Calvary FC in Canada. He played 14 games last season, 1 goal. Spent a portion of last season on loan with Raith Rovers. So 19-year-old Ryan MacLennan 17-year-old George Robertson and 18-year-old Andrew McLeod all departed on loan to Elgin and Ayr County, respectively.
Yeah.
Aaron Brophy, Noah Kenny, Gwian Edwards, Uber Edwards, and Josh Stones all finished their loan spells with the team.
Yeah.
Now, incomings, Josh Reid, a fella that you had kind of pinpointed, you thought he had a great chance of having a good career. So he's returned from Coventry for a fee said to be around 40 grand.
Yeah.
Reid, a 21-year-old left back, signed a new 3-year contract.
Yeah.
According to my info, and I don't know if you know anything, he hasn't really played much first-team football at all since his departure, including loans at Stevenage.
Yeah.
25-year-old Dundonian Scott Allardyce was picked up from Inverness.
Yeah.
The defensive midfielder had a spell playing in the League of Ireland and has played the past 3 seasons with Inverness.
Yeah.
Kyle Turner, another midfielder, was picked up for Partick Thistle. Matt Sheaf, a 23-year-old English midfielder, was signed from Redditch United. Sheaf had started his career with Hull City. The aforementioned Eamon Brophy returned to the club full-time.
Yeah.
The 27-year-old striker scored 3 times in 8 matches during his last period at the club. Jay Henderson, a 21-year-old midfielder, was picked up in a free for St Mirren at the end of his contract, previously been on loan with Inverness and Clyde. And James Brown, a 25-year-old Dublin-born right-back, has been picked up from Blackburn on a free transfer.
Yeah.
And finally, Will Nightingale has been loaned to the club from AFC Wimbledon for the season. The 27-year-old centre-back is the 8th signing of this summer. So what's the thoughts on that? Are you happy? Do you expect any more ins and outs?
I'm ecstatic.
You're ecstatic, right? Fantastic.
Scott. And I'll tell you why. Because we've gone and grabbed some really good players from teams around us, like St Mirren, Partick Thistle. You know, I know Partick Thistle are in the league below, but Kyle Turner's a known prospect, you know.
A couple of boys, one for Inverness.
To secure Brophy, which I think is a fantastic signing. If we could keep Brophy fit and he gets that wee partnership going with Jordan White and Simon Murray, so you've got the option, you've got loads and loads of options up front now, which is fantastic. Kyle Turner, Jay Henderson, his dad used to play for County, Darren Henderson, but Jay Henderson is another player I watched playing for Cali last season and kind of stood out, you know, nice, tricky little wingery type kind of player, but also has a goal in his locker, you know. Kyle Turner, again, goal in his locker. These guys have all looked brilliant during pre-season. The boy Sheaf looks brilliant as well. So they've picked up some cracking players this season and done their business early. So I would say we're still probably short of maybe a left-sided centre-back. And just for cover, and I would say possibly maybe another goalkeeper just for backup, you know, because it's only really Scott Laidlaw, Ross Laidlaw, and Ross Monroe, you know. So that's it with regards to goalkeepers. You know, we do have Logan Ross as well. So there's a young boy there too, but
love a Ross, you guys, love a Ross.
Oh, that's a big part of their signing policy, you know. So. But it's, you know, I'm quite excited about the season. You know, I just think that there's a lot of pace. There's a lot of mobility in the middle of the park and up front. I just think, you know, Nightingale. What I've seen of Nightingale as well, he looks a quality player too. The boy James Brown, really like him as well. Really like the look of him.
I saw him bombing up. He knows a load of people will be at the game and he's really looking forward. But this is what these guys are here for.
Absolutely.
Perform with you.
Yeah.
Get yourself noticed. That's it, I mean.
Absolutely. If we can just try and keep these guys just ticking over and hopefully we don't get sort of like so many injuries that we had last season, and we've still got like Ross Callahan to come back as well, you know, and Ben Payton and people like that. So we do have people coming back that'll just be like signings, you know. So the squad is looking not too bad actually. I just feel that there's a lot of, I think he's got good options coming off the bench as well, which is always great to have, you know, people that can turn a game. So I always sound positive. You know, I did the same last season.
Well,
But,
mate, that's
you know,
fans. That's your job.
I've seen these guys coming in, you know, and I saw the type of player they were signing, and I just thought that's genius. Like getting Eamon Brophy, and then you get your boy Jay Henderson as a free. It's almost like buy one get one free.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, like, look at the age, all load of young guys, but everybody kind of under 30.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you say. I mean,
yeah, enthusiastic, sort of like a lot of pace, lads that are wanting to make a name for themselves. Bring it on.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if they're coming to a club and the club's healthy financially and the club's got a good atmosphere around it, then they'll all kick on, really. Yeah. Right, so you gave me a fantastic segue there to talk about the team, right? So I'll go through my usual guys, and you can kind of tell me what you think name, and then anything I'm missing, right? So Jan Danda, obviously, he remains on the club, and that touches on that thing we spoke about, giving him that 2-year deal. So he's now in his second year. He had I think it was did he get a wee injury, or was he just a slow starter? But
he did get a wee knock at the start. So it took a wee while before we got to see the best of Jan.
He's a good player.
Oh, a great player.
He's a good player.
We'll do well to hold on to him, you know.
This summer.
Well, if somebody comes in, they'll obviously have to pay for him, you know. But we'll do well to hold on to him because he's a standout, you know.
He came from Swansea, didn't he?
Yeah.
Would there be any hope of tying him down for another wee year? And
well, I would love to see that happen because he's such a good player in the middle of the park. You know, he can just make things happen. He's got a wonderful ball into the box, and you know he'll do anything outside of the boot. You know, just you know he's one of these guys. He's just gifted, and you know when you get somebody like that, and he's worked with Malky before, so you know they know each other. So I would love to see it happen because I think we can build the team around him.
Yeah. So 37 games last season, 6 goals coming from deep. So I mean that's a great return. Right, so 2 guys were mentioned quite a bit so far: Jordan White and Simon Murray. Both two established Premier League players. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They could I reckon they could do a job for 90% of the rest of the league as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get the 2 guys. I mean, Jordan White's a handful, and Scott Murray knows where the fucking net is. So Jordan White scored 11 goals last season. Right, so you touched on it there. What is the deal with the keeper situation? Because I thought Ross Laidlaw was like number 1, but Ross Monroe's played most of the League Cup games.
Yeah, now we did the same thing last season. We let Ross have a run in the Cup games, you know, just to get him experience and stuff like that. He's a good goalkeeper, actually. But I think Ross had some work done on his knee, Ross Laidlaw. So he's just really coming back from that. So he played on Saturday and looked fine. So fingers crossed it'll be him that's between the sticks on Saturday against you guys. Yeah. I mean,
you say Ross Monroe, he's only 23-year-old.
Yeah, he's got a young dude like me. You know, you would never know it to see him. You know, he's vocal and you know he does his best. You know. But,
right. So tell me about Dylan Smith. 17-year-old and has already appeared 15 times for the club.
Yeah, another great prospect. I went to a lot of the pre-season games and watched him. Like you know, and he's another guy that if he has the right person beside him to help him go through the games, you know, it'll help him on. You know, he's obviously been doing gym work and stuff like that because the guy is just filled out. And,
right.
You know, he doesn't look out of place in the team. You know, and. No, I really like Dylan. Like I like quite a lot of the young lads. Like you know, it's one of these things. Some of them go out on loan. You know, I was at an event that the club had a couple of weeks ago, and Malky was there just for 10 minutes to do a wee talk to the supporters. And one of the things he said, which I thought was excellent sort of info, he said that you know he was coming up through Celtic and stuff like that, playing with guys like Tom Boyd and these sort of guys, you know, and they were all coaching him through the game and stuff like that. And he said, that is massive. So he said, the difference between taking 2 youngsters and putting one out on loan to play football along with men that will coach them and play with men, or you keep somebody sitting on the bench festering. Which one's gonna have a career? Right away, you know it's the guy that's getting all the coaching and playing games, isn't it? So that's a lot to do with the reason why these guys get put out on loan is to get them game time. You know, some of them have come back looking like twice the size they were. It's bizarre. Like, you know, there was one of the boys at the back. Was it Connell Ewan or something like that? I think the boy's name is like. But I was looking at him thinking, is this a new signing? I was like, that's not that same guy. I was actually looking at his photo on my phone on the club website, going, that's not the same kid. You know, but he's huge. You know, he's massive. Like, and he just looked standing beside Jack Baldwin and stuff like that. I was thinking, who is this guy? You know,
it's great to see a young guy do that. A young guy kind of looking at his own advancements and his own progress. I need to go and do this. I need to do that rather than.
And that's what they've got to do. Let's face it, it's a short career. You know, it's not a long career. It's over like that. And I think it's important that the young guys coming into the team and stuff like that, they just need to realise. And you can tell the ones like Josh Reed, Dylan Smith. You know, these guys. They've always something's clicked in them, obviously, at some point to say, "Well, this is it. If I'm going to do this, I need to work. I need to work hard at it." You know.
Of course.
So, and it shouldn't be difficult for the manager or the assistant manager or the coach to say to you, you know, if you want this, you need to grab it with both hands. You know, they're privileged, I guess, to be in that fortunate position where they're talented enough to be actually in a first team playing football in the Premier League in Scotland.
Go and take it, innit?
Absolutely. So you've got to just say, this is it. This is what I want, you know, and make it happen. You know, look at Tierney. You know, look at some of the guys that have come through your ranks, and you know, other Scottish players that have gone on to bigger things. You know, and it's there for them. You know, it's just having the right attitude and the right mentality to say, you know, this is what I want with my life. You know, and it isn't going to be long. I'm not going to be.
Especially the opportunity teams like Ross County are affording young guys. Do you know what I mean? The pathway it's been a big contentious issue with Celtic. Celtic seem to be losing our top stars. I don't think a pathway is going to stop that necessarily. I mean, Ben Doak was going to go somewhere. I mean, exactly. but at Celtic, obviously, it's pretty hard. We're bringing these guys in. We're bringing young guys in from all around the world now. But guys, at teams like Motherwell, at teams like Ross County, the opportunity is there for you. Like you say, if you're prepared to work hard and take it.
Absolutely, and I think to be honest, that's key points. You know, I think it's knowing that the career isn't going to be long, but it's what you do with that time you're given. You know, and making the most of it. You know, and.
We spoke about a load of the guys who never made it to Celtic and ended up having fantastic careers in Scottish football.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And because we shit in Scottish football so frequently and so easy, people denigrate the fact that these guys have played professional football for guys like Michael Tidser and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Really, really top. I mean,
and I've had a good career and a long career as well.
Exactly, aye.
So it's there for them. Like if you know, I wish. I mean, I was played football when I was younger. It just wasn't good enough. But
I feel you.
I would love to have had that sort of, because you know, obviously, if you can get that, like Don Cowie's a prime example. You know, what a career that guy's had. You know, and we've got him as an assistant manager, and the players are probably looking at Don and saying, "Well, I want to have the career that you had, Don. How do I do that?" And you've got that guy who can say, "Well, this is what you need to do."
Aye, you know? Yeah. It was mad. Did you ever remember the guy, Alan Russell? I think he played for Dundee United for a while, but he generally played lower league Scottish football. Yeah. And he was never really good enough to perform regularly in the top league.
Yeah.
But in the Championship, he was amazing, or like the Scottish League One, whatever. And like I spoke to a couple of professionals about him, they were like, see the quality that guy had. He just never had the, and that just shows you if that guy was teaching English forwards how to strike the ball right.
Yeah.
And we're kind of told, he couldn't play in the Scottish Premier League as if, he's a dumpling in your lap. I want that respect.
Absolutely. But no, there's been some good quality players that have come out of the lower leagues in Scotland and ended up doing a cracking job. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think ultimately we've got to respect our league a wee bit. more.
No, definitely. It's, we, as you say, we don't give it enough credit. The games are exciting. There's always something going on in Scottish football. But
There's a podcast.
I would always. I think I've said this to you before. I would always want the league to be a bit bigger. I would always want 14 teams or whatever.
It was interesting, right, to kind of go for this wee tangent about this, because I was listening to it. I don't know, what did I get the name of the podcast? So, Improving Scottish Football. I don't know if you see it, right? So I've been listening on it, and I think it's a brilliant show. I really think the topics they talk about resonate with me, every one of them. And today they had the boy Davey, I think, from Pie and Bovril.
Oh yeah.
And he was talking about increasing the league. That was something. And I would be one. I'm not somebody who's precious about these quotation mark for listeners, old firm games. You know what I mean? I'd make them better, wholly having 2 a season. You know what I mean? But obviously we're kind of tied with that.
Yeah.
But it was funny. I was talking to a Standard Liaison fan in April. I just done a half chat. I was in Germany and I met him. He was doing a tour and I met him, and he was talking about his league being too big, the Belgian league, and because we were talking about, I think they've got a split as well. They've got a championship and a relegation, and he was going, well, they've extended the league, but there's 2 or 3 teams who are just no at it, and there's just no point. And it kind of has recoiled my thinking on it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not today we are kind of whole Celtic, we're too good for this. Balls to that. No, I want the league to get better. And for speaking to him, it kind of made me step back on it a wee bit and go, is the money there to allow?
Well, I guess that's the side of it, isn't it? The way I look at it is that, I suppose, as I watched that last game of the season against Partick.
Yeah, fair point.
And I was like, if I had this on a Saturday in the league, I would love this. And I'm looking at teams like Queen's Park. I mean, okay, some of these clubs would probably have to spend a fortune to get themselves to into the league and stuff like that, and they'd have to go and sign team players and stuff like that. But you've got teams like Inverness, which means we would have a local derby.
Yeah, right.
Derby back, a bit of rivalry there. I think there's easily, another 2 teams that could come up that would effectively just take us that little bit bigger, and just mean that we're not facing each other as often.
Yeah.
And it doesn't allow the big 2 to accumulate the same amount of points by thrashing everybody 4 times, But you see what I'm saying?
No,
it'd be more competitive for you guys as well, because you would know you would have to win those games.
The competitive bit of it is the big thing, right? For a Celtic Rangers fan, well, I'll not talk about them. For a Celtic fan, the competitive side, but the frustration is, right, it's funny, people say, does winning all the time not get boring? And I can assure you, bloody well doesn't, right? I mean, what do people think I'm going to do? I'm going to turn up and no care if my team don't win. See what I mean? I want to win everything. But the sad fact of the matter is, should we have a stinking season, Hibs aren't going to win it, Hearts aren't going to, it's going to go straight to them. If they have a stinking season, it's coming to us. Yeah. And there's a frustration. I mean, Hibs getting beat after that fucking Andorran mob, that's heartbreaking. I watched, I was like, come on.
But again, I tried to look at it from a Scotland perspective as well, and I tried to say, well, what is our current league offering the Scottish national team with young players coming through and stuff like that, Now, I know there's a lot of debate about the B teams and all that sort of stuff, which I'm not a big fan of either. I just think you end up in a bit of a mess with that sort of thing.
The B team is a selfish thing, but it's selfish for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And I understand the whole, and people who are dead against it, I understand that wholeheartedly. But as a Celtic fan, I do need to be selfish in terms of the guys we've got in reserves who we want to step up and be the future of our team. They need to play at the highest level possible. We've lost a young guy. What was his name? Wasn't it Brooks? Was it Brooks who signed for Inverness?
Oh yeah, I think I did hear
The
that.
centre forward. So he's left our B team and signed for Inverness. Left our B team and signed for a championship team. One of the good championship teams at that.
Yeah.
And because he wasn't going to spend another season playing in the bloody Lowland League. And Celtic will probably have a plethora of these guys who are far too good and play that level.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the standings probably argue that, but we've kind of got to then be greedy and go, no, we want to play them at the highest. Look at Germany, look at Spain. But on the flip side of that, Inverness themselves will be going, fuck you. Who do you think you're?
Aye. I mean, there is an element of that, you know, and I think, I guess you've got to look at it from both perspectives, as what you've just covered there. You've got to think about the young guys as well, and what are their career prospects, you know, and are they ever going to get into the first Rangers team or the first Celtic team? There's this huge onus on the team to be winning all the time. So do you take the risk with taking in a new guy? You did it with Callum McGregor. You did it with Tierney. So Rangers have done it with other guys as well, you know.
And the irony, Kenny, is both guys were touch and go. Well, they were going to, both of them.
Absolutely. And that's the risk, isn't it, I guess? And that's, I suppose.
I mean, we seem to be, sorry to cut you off, but we seem to be at the point that anybody who is genuinely good enough to walk in and take a starting berth are leaving us before we even get the chance to see them.
Yeah, that's right, because somebody's obviously spotted it, scouted it, and taken them. Yeah, no, yeah, it's a difficult one, you know, and it's the same with us, you know, taking these young boys and putting them out on loan, you know. A lot of the supporters would be like, well, why can't we just save ourselves a bit of money and actually get them into the team, you know? But it's the onus on do you throw them into the cauldron too early, and do you know? But I just feel if they've got that stature about them and they've got that physique and they can play, then get your Jack Baldwins or whoever else at the back to coach them through the game, you know, and start playing these guys in some of the games where you feel like, you know, it's more of an even keel, you know, like St Mirren or Livy or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
and start using some of these young guys, but then what do? Do you have them on the bench for the bulk of the
exactly. Are they progressing? I mean, we've tried. You remember, we've tried loads of schemes. I mean, we've done away with the reserve league. We brought in an unders league. People bemoaned there was no reserve league. They weren't playing against adults. They were playing against kids that were their own age. What you talked about, they weren't getting coaching by playing with Paul Lambert. I mean, Simon Ferry often talks about Paul Lambert turned up to play in a reserve game, and he said it was the greatest 90 minutes he's played in his life.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, and then you had the one, you had to have 2 under 18s on the bench, all that sort of stuff. So
exactly.
But anyway, right. So I kind of touched on a few of your guys there. Is there anybody who you think I'm missing for the squad that, or we kind of touched the highs?
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who has been on fire this pre-season. You probably picked it up because you seem to be good with your stats. Simon Murray.
Yeah, aye.
He's electric at the moment. And the goals he's scoring, he is a good player. And I think what I said earlier on about sometimes you don't see the best of players until their second season. But he's come in January, and we've seen a wee bit of him and stuff like that. But I honestly feel he's got a point to prove. And he's probably looking and thinking, Brophy, White, you know, Alex Samuel, and yeah, okay, you've got all these guys, but what about me? You know, and watching him in pre-season, I honestly think he's going to end up like a wee bit of a cult hero for us. I think he's one of these guys that's just going to be there or thereabouts. You know, I think we're going to see a lot of him this season.
Well, he's a finisher, isn't he? I mean,
he's not making goalkeepers and everything. And that's, you know, I love that. You know, one-on-one with a keeper, he's putting it in the net. You know, so I honestly do feel a bit optimistic this season.
Love it, Ken. I love it, mate. I love it.
I shouldn't be doing it. I will go get the Mogadon. But it's more the fact that we've got so many options now up front and in the middle of the park. You know,
right,
yeah,
right.
we
Hold that thought, right?
right,
So
okay.
let's get to the League Cup, right? So this season, as before, the season for you guys started a month ago. There's a team were drawn in the League Cup group with Edinburgh City, Greenock Morton, Kelty Hearts and Stirnrah. Comfortable group. An away 5-1 pumping of Stirnrah was followed by a home 2-1 win over Morton, another 3-1 win over Edinburgh City, and a 3-3 draw with Kelty, which the Hearts won 4-3 on penalties, but at that point stuck you top of the pile. So the group finished 3 wins from 4, that penalty loss to Kelty, 13 goals scored, 6 goals conceded, a GD of +7 and 10 points on the board, one ahead of Morton in second. So that's now set you up for an away tie with Championship side Airdrie, which should be a cracking game, to be honest.
Yeah.
The weekend of the 19th of August. Right. My information is limited, trying to kind of scramble about, trying to find highlights of these games. What I'm noticing, and you can tell me if I'm right, you seem to be ceding a wee bit of possession more than you did last year, and you look like you are really dangerous on the counter attack. It was interesting when I was going through your guys you brought in. You seem to bring in a load of midfielders rather than the strikers. Obviously, Brophy's come in, but you had Brophy on loan, and it looks like it's more about the creation of chances rather than we need another striker.
I think that's a fair point and probably well observed because you look at the type of guys they've taken in as well. Not only are they creative midfielders and quick and pacey, but they're also guys that've got a goal in their locker as well. So there's goals from other, which from last season was our weakness, that we just weren't putting the ball in the net. So now we've got extra firepower up front. We've also got firepower in the middle of the park. We've also got guys that can feed the front guys. So I think there's huge options there. And getting Scott Allardyce from Cali, I think was one of the best signings for me, because I just think, defensive midfielder, sit him in front of the back four or a back whatever, and he's going to do a job for you. He's going to break the game up, and he's shown to be doing that already,
Right.
So there's definitely options there, and we've got Nightingale, as you say, at the back as well, James Brown. But we're forgetting guys like Connor Randall and people like that as well that we've got at the club, really experienced guys. He's only 27, Randall, and he's such a good player, such a good leader on the park as well, So, and I don't know if you maybe won't know this, but he's been sort of slotting into midfield. They've been sort of going to a back three, and he's been slotting. He's been going into midfield and stuff like that, which is a role that he played at Liverpool, So he's got a good footballing head on him, So there's options all over the park. I just think that maybe they've looked at everything and just said, well, maybe we don't need to go crazy this season with like taking in 11, 12 players. Maybe what we need to be focusing on is getting the right player.
Yeah.
For what we need.
Putting trust in your good guys and kind of backing them up almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to apologise actually. Duncan Chisholm is actually a business development officer at Ross County. He's just come back to me there just now, so you can edit that bit into the start.
No edit.
My guts for garters.
Good you remember. Right. Yeah. So this Saturday, back to Celtic Park.
Yeah.
Now we played each other 4 occasions last season. The early couple of games we spoke about, the 3-1 win and the 4-1 win up the road, which on the face of it looked comfortable. But in the league game, now I had a wee look, we led for 17 minutes of that whole game in a 3-1 win. Now, I mean, I think we scored just before half time, and then you guys scored, just after half time, and you guys scored 10 minutes later, and then we scored a goal in the 85th in the 90th minute.
Yeah.
We had another tight one at Celtic Park in November. That disputable VAR decision giving County the lead. But David Tombo and Said Aksabanovic took the points. And then the final match in April this year, a 2-0 win.
2-1. So they're not massive. Yeah.
Late goals in both half for Jota and Bernabe taking the 3 points down the road. So, right, we'll not go mental. I mean, I think Celtic should be up for it, especially with Rodgers being back and the kind
Yeah, Flag
of going
Day.
about it.
Well,
But give me your thoughts on how you think it was set up, because again, without much, this is almost a free hit, isn't it? No, I mean, but you don't want to take a hiding, so you're kind of balancing things up.
well, yeah, I would say so. But on the flip side of that, I think he's likely to say, well, what have we got to lose? It's the Celtics Flag Day. They're going to fully be expecting to come out all guns blazing, full stadium, whatever. So you've got nothing to lose than to just go for it. Let's face it. It gives these guys a chance, and let's face it, they're all going to be like, wow, first game of the season, Parkhead. So some of these guys that are coming up to sign for County and the ones that come up on loan or whatever, they're going to be right up for this. So, great game to start it off. Either yourselves or Rangers. So if you're a player and you're wanting your profile to go up, then these are the games you want to be playing in, and go. The ones that are going to be televised are the ones that are going to get a good chunk of the highlights. So I don't know. I think he's got enough. He's got enough in the squad to throw a few surprises on Saturday. But obviously you guys at home, you're it's going to be a tough task. But as you say, it's these games. We don't expect to get anything much out of these games. But if I was the manager, I'd be saying, just get out there and express yourself. Just go for it. Don't be overawed by who's coming at you or whatever. Like, just get
especially when you've came through the League Cup group comfortably. You've looked good, scored some good goals. You've got yourself however tough Airdrie will be. It's a winnable game, and you're in the quarters. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, for the stuff I'm looking from on the outside. For a team that finished second bottom and had to kind of come back in such a way, he's seeming a very healthy, happy place.
Well, I think so, and I think that, as we said earlier, like that, that Olympic torch has been lit. That last game of the season, and to sell, I think it was an extra 450 odd or 500 season tickets.
So why he's sitting at 1,700 or something, huh?
And it's like, and it's sold out the first batch of home kits, they're on to the next, and they're selling away kits. There's kits. They just can't keep up with the kits at the moment. So that's great to see, because for the size of the club, it needs every penny coming through the door, as much as possible.
I bought a scarf last time I was up, Kenny. Just like
and that pin badge is coming. I actually said to the missus here just now, I said, please, can you stick this in an envelope and send it down to this guy who's going to lynch me? So, no, I meant to send it down to you, but I'm terrible. My memory, I'm like so many things going on, so many complaints, and but I've got so much going on with having a full-time job and doing this volunteer-wise as well. Because the phone never stops, Scott. It'll be the same for John Paul at your place. His phone will be buzzing all the time, like people asking for, how do I get tickets for this? How do I do that? What's wrong with that?
The most random nonsense.
How's that not working? And whatever else, So I think maybe people don't appreciate that side of it. They probably think, but my phone's going off at midnight, and and then you get up in the morning, the first thing you're doing is answering an email to somebody saying, or by the way, this is what you need to do. Send an email to this or whatever. They'll just go to the SLO because they know the club's got one. So, but it's
you're the buffer, mate. You're the buffer.
Yeah, it's fine. I actually enjoy it. I enjoy getting to know the people. Love a match day because you're speaking to people and seeing all the faces that and even away fans and that. It's good to engage with people. I always try to help as much as possible so that when people do come up, I'm going to say, "How you doing?" whatever, and I need to meet you. You always say you're going to come out, and we're always going to say, "How you doing?" and whatever. So next time you're up,
I'll come up and complain about the pie, but that's all day. Right. We'll finish off, Kenny, with your thoughts and your hopes for the season.
Right. Well, the way I look at it is it's a community club playing in the Scottish Premiership. Yeah. So I would always say that every season we start, we're effectively punching above our weight. A lot of people would say, come on, stop this small club thing. But realistically, we are. So my expectations when we finished top 6 with Malky, that was, everybody was like, wow, and a lot of people were like, you know, that were moaning at the start with the appointment, probably changed a lot of their minds. You know, they probably thought, well, actually, we do have a guy here who knows what he's doing. You know, and so, you know, and the recruitment, the guys that he has there, I would like to see us I would like to see us finish best of the rest, you know. But if we can sneak a top 6, I would love it, you know, just to sort of like reaffirm that our signing policy has been right and the recruitment has gone well, and it's backed up what a lot of fans are thinking, that the guys we've taken in now, Scottish players, young Scottish players, guys that have got something a bit about them, because I always feel the teams around us, Scott, like Livingston, St Mirren, you know, St Johnstone, they always seem a wee bit more streetwise than us, you know. And I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's just because, you know, they're more experienced players. You know, they're not maybe signing the same number of youngsters or whatever. Or I don't know. But you know, you sort of look at it and you think, how can they get away with some of the stuff they get away with? I'm not saying that we don't do the same, but you know, it seems to be. I don't know. We just need to sometimes just say, right, come on, get the sleeves rolled up, get out there, get into them, you know. And I look back.
The forwards you've got are seasoned guys, aren't they?
Yeah. And when I look back at Ross County teams, and if I could have 10 minutes with that Ross County team before they go out in the park, I would say this to them. I say, look, a team came up from the Championship, right? It's been in this league, I think it's 11 seasons out of 12 or whatever. All right, and the first time they came up, they went 40 games unbeaten. Yeah, there was no massive stars in that team. You had Paul Lawson, Rocco Quinn, Richie Britton, Stuart Kettlewell, you know, Grant Monroe, you know, Scott Boyd. You looked at all these guys that were in that team. There was no big bucks spent on that squad, but what you had was a unit.
Right.
And it was a unit that fought for each other, and you could see it in every game. The game that you guys came up and you were winning 2-0, and we came back to beat you 3-2. I love that.
Long way,
I want to see more of that.
Yeah. Okay.
That sets it up nice. That sets it up nice for the weekend, Scott. Come on.
Good, mate. Good,
yeah. No, that's all. As a supporter, that's all we want, is to see somebody playing for the badge, getting out there, leaving nothing on the park. If they do that, to the fans, they are heroes. You know.
Tremendous, Kenny. Thoroughly enjoyed that, mate. Always good to speak to you. Always good to get your opinion and your thoughts on the game. Before we go, where do people find you in social media?
They will find me on Twitter at RCFC_SLO.
So when we're up at Dingwall and the Global Energy and you don't like your pie, Kenny's a man to be emailing.
You bastard.
Right, I'll finish that one. For the first one of the season, a belter. Kenny, thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
Really, really enjoyable, pal.
Yeah, all the best for the season, Scott. I'm sure you'll be saying the same as I.
Of course, mate. Of course.